That would be 43,300 square feet. You're talking then about something that's probably 450 foot long and about 100 feet wide. We can build those. That's not a problem. We have ships that are 1,000 foot long. We have one ship that's, my goodness, it's about 1,000 foot wide. It just barely goes through the canals. So we know how to build very large craft, but we're not interested in trying to see how big we can go. We're building this as a community. So our buildings will be self-sustaining, and people will be able to have their own individual homes or floats, and they could just buy a boat now. So there's one answer for you. How expensive? Well, you can get, I've seen boats, 42 footers go for $10,000. So you could convert that boat into your own home. That would be almost big enough for a family of two, not quite. And we tried it. We took a 40-footer and lived in it for a year just to make sure that it could be done.
Yeah, that's kind of tight. A friend of mine had a 30-something foot, and it was tight when I was on that boat. And
that one, there's not enough living room. I mean,
right.
if you're in port, want to go for a walk, fine. But we have places where you can get off your boat and go for a walk, of course. But they may not be right there where you're anchored. So you want something big enough to give you plenty of room.
All right. Well, explain what the structure of this community will look like. I mean, will everyone just sort of bring their boat and hook up, or are you going to build this gigantic platform, however big it is, an acre or whatever, and then people rent or build on the platform? I guess I don't have a vision as to how this thing will work.
Well, we're actually going to have 3 phases. And if you like, I can put up the converted. Let me see how I can do this. Okay. Now your viewers, listeners should be able to see, this will be phase 1. This is called a flotel. It's a deep sea construction barge that has been converted into a hotel, restaurant. There's a sauna in there. There's a 900 bottle wine cellar. It just depends on what you want put in there. But one of the things that's not there that we need will be a general store, and there's plenty of room to make that. So from even above, there's only about 50% of that you're seeing there has been already utilized. The other half can be used for more apartments and space for grocery stores and stuff like that. Now, in the back of this, I need to, there's that wine cellar.
Wow.
Here's the restaurant. This is one of the bedrooms.
And we're going to need some wine.
Yeah.
I mean, so that's, yeah.
Now, this one's already constructed and ready to go. So this will be phase 1.
Oh, so in this case, people will just be visiting. They wouldn't be living there. Am I correct on this one?
Well, they could, but that's not what phase 1's really designed for. Phase 1 is proof of concept. Mostly people will be living in their own boats. They will pull into the aft section of this barge where you can see here boats are lined up along the walkway, and they would walk up the passageway to the hotel and everything above. But this right here is also a fueling station. We have like 500,000 gallons or something like that, so we can actually fuel the boats that sell them fuel out there at sea. They don't have to go back in anymore. Yeah. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to give them all the comforts at home in the sea where they can live in their boats, they can come to the store, they can go to a restaurant, they can go to the bar, they can hang out with their friends, and then they can, then they can go home. Now, phase two is going to be a little bit bigger, and for that, I'm going to stop sharing.
All right, and what is, you have a picture of phase two, or there's no pictorial of phase two yet?
Well, phase two isn't designed yet. That's being designed by Dr.
Okay.
Kahn, Clemson University. Basically, what it is going to be is a big marina. Mostly we're going to be protecting floats and boats with the marina itself. I mean, from any kind of large waves or whatever. So there's a lot of design that's got to go into that, but where we're putting it is part of the principle. If you look right there where I told you on the cell bank, there's little keys, little islands that are too small to live on. They're you get washed away, you try to live on it. So they're kind of worthless in themselves, but they act as really good wave breaks. So by putting the marina and our phase one, by putting it on the lee side of those islands, we have additional protection.
Okay, but living on a boat, I have never had a boat myself, other than a catamaran, which I loved. But that's not living on a boat. We used to go out and, fly a hull and come back and have a hot dog. But friends of mine had boats, and depending on, even on lakes, depending on turbulence of the water, you'd be bouncing around and rocking back and forth. Do people really want to live that way? I mean, living in a place where you're, it's not steady all the time, where you could be sitting in your boat watching television but rocking back and forth and getting seasick or something. Is that not a problem?
Yes and no. In small boats, if you're not used to the sea, it will be a problem at start. But they have things to help you to overcome that. But on the big cruise boats, you've taken cruises. Do you get sick?
Oh, no.
No. So no, there's not enough. When you're only talking about where we're putting our seastead, the waves are only 2 to 3 feet normally. I mean, you might get something bigger, but you'd have to have a pretty small boat for 2 to 3 feet waves to really do too much. So yes, if you're brand new and you just get a boat for the first time, yeah, you might find a little bit of uncomfortableness until you get used to it. But on the real seasteads, now it won't be much different than walking on an aircraft carrier.
Yeah. So phase one, you would have to have your own boat, right? And then moor it at on this platform, which would contain the hotel and whatever, all the amenities that we're accustomed to. And so you would sort of sleep on your boat and then get off your boat and go to the center platform with the stores and whatever. Am I correct? Is that the way that you plan it to be?
If you need to go to the store or whatever, but what are you doing out there? You're probably working. Maybe you've got a fish farm that you're raising fish, or maybe you've got an algae farm and you're making fuel and stuff like that. But there's a lot of businesses that you can run out there. So mostly your day is going to be whatever is important to you. For you, you'll probably run your talk show from there, and have people come out and see the sunny Caribbean, and be on your show with you.
Yeah.
But everybody has different interests, likes, dislikes, and so on, and they will. They'll do whatever, their lifestyle will be free to run whatever way they want to. They don't have anybody telling them what to do.
Right.
So yeah, they might go to the town, but they might not. They might have friends over at their house and hang out.
Well, if a person had their own 40-foot boat, whatever, moored on this seastead, would would that be permanent, or could they just unhook and then take a ride over to the island, to one of the islands, or to the mainland?
No, that's the beauty of what we're doing. We're not hooked to anything. So you can take a small boat if you're living in a house float. You can take you take a boat or one of those water jet skis and go over to the islands or go visit your friends. But more importantly, if you don't like your neighbors, all you have to do is pick your anchor up and move to another place where your friends are, and you can't do that in the city.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're totally mobile. I mean, you're totally flexible as to where you hook up if you don't want to stay where you are. If you get up in the morning and you say, well, I'm here, but every day I want to go to the islands and be on dry land, you can do that on a daily basis if you wish.
If you wish. Yes.
Yeah. And about how far would you be from actual land?
Well, from those little keys, you're probably talking hundreds of feet, but you're 40 miles from Cuba. So if you're looking for something really big, a mountain, Cuba's got a big mountain. If you're looking for maybe top-notch medical coverage, well, then you're 90 miles from Miami.
Okay, so only 90 miles. All right, so that's relatively close. Now, tell me, how does someone, if they want to look into this, is there a way that you have to buy into the concept or finance the concept? How's this whole thing being financed, I guess?
That was one of the things that I'm most proud of. Not so much because it was me, somebody else actually designed it, but we've taken several different concepts and we've come up with what we call C notes. From the old time, a couple of years ago, a C note was $100. Okay, well, that's what they are. They're $100. But these C notes, SEA notes, will be kind of like a preferred stock. There's more to it than that. But we are using a group effort to fund this, and we got to have millions of dollars. So let's say we have 1 million C notes, and that's what we're starting with, and then using that to generate, but the funds to build. But we're also going to be supplying electric, water, gas, food, running the hotel and whatnot, the restaurant, so that we'll be generating money back in for the people who buy these C notes from us. We're going to be able to pay them dividends every year. How much dividends, we don't know.
Yeah.
But we have chosen to take a libertarian viewpoint, and instead of going and asking for donations, we want the people who are going to benefit the most to help supply and pay themselves back by the dividends.
Well, can you buy these C notes now and not participate in living in the seastead, and you just want to be an investor? I want to buy a C note, and how much would it cost, and can I do it?
Yes, you can. And in fact, we were originally going to go to investors because I was Forex trader, and I'm kind of knowledgeable about investing and whatnot. So that was my instinct. But then during a conversation that we were having, many of us in the program, in this pilot project, are libertarian in the background. And we were thinking that, this is a beautiful place for libertarians to actually be able to set up a government and show how libertarianism would work. Because the biggest problem that libertarians have is we can't point to it and say, this is a libertarian government or that is. So nobody knows how well it will work. And because of that, they stick with the Democratic Republican ideas that, the government needs to run our lives. Well, during that conversation, it just hit me. We're going to the wrong people. The seasteading, the Marina Project isn't for investors. Sure, we're going to make money, but it's for freedom. This is the freest place on the earth is in the ocean.
Right.
There's nobody there to tell you that what you can do and can't do. As long as you're not hurting anybody else, this is the perfect libertarian platform. And then all of a sudden, everything changed. We stopped thinking about selling to investors and started thinking about making C notes available to libertarians so the libertarians can help sponsor and own their own country. Okay. And I just kind of Freudian slip or whatever. Yes, it is very possible that this seastead could become its own country and make its own laws, and could be the first libertarian country in the world. Now, we don't want to get out there too far ahead of ourselves, but since we're on a primarily libertarian talk show, I felt kind of comfortable with, even though Marinea is not a libertarian project per se, it dovetails so nicely with the needs of the libertarian community. Libertarians can help establish Marinea, and Marinea will give a home to libertarianism.
Yeah. Bob, could you stay with us? We want to just break for quick station identification. We'll be back in about 90 seconds. Is that okay with you?
That's good with me.
Okay, great. Just hold on, folks. Don't go away. We'll be back with Bob Llewellyn, and we're talking about the Marinea Project, which is seasteading, getting away from land, going out to sea, and developing a new community of true freedom. Hold on. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Liberty Talk Radio. Political talk derived from a historical perspective. Not always palatable, but good food for thought. Pure libertarian talk with host Joe Cristiano. LibertyTalkRadio.com.
Express Test is your go-to company for on-site occupational health testing services. That's right, we said on-site. That means we will meet you at your facility for a free health and occupational safety consultation. Express Test specializes in hearing conservation, respiratory protection, and employee safety. We can help you establish viable programs tailored to your business and employee needs. For your free consultation, call 918-743-2929 or visit us at expresstest.com. That's 918-743-2929 or expresstest.com.
Ranch Acres Audiology is about caring, about getting the most out of life, about personal attention.
Sometimes helping someone with their hearing is really helping them with more than just hearing. That's the goal of my practice. That's what my goal has been for 20 years.
You're invited to attend our next free Lunch and Learn seminar. Call us today, 918-749-7711.
This isn't your typical talk radio show. This is Liberty. Liberty Talk Radio.
Welcome back, everyone. This is Joe Cristiano. You've been listening to Liberty Talk Radio, America's libertarian voice. And with us today, we have Mr. Bob Llewellyn. He's the project coordinator for the Marinea Project, which is a seasteading project, bringing people out to sea, away from the bureaucracy of government. But Bob, the question I have here now: do people have to become a citizen of the Marinea community, or can you just pay your dues or your hookup fee and then just live there? And do you have to give up your citizenship in any other country? How does all that work?
We really don't have a government to answer those questions. Really, we're counting on the libertarians to develop the government. We're more into the mechanics of how things need to work to fit together. But we're talking with, I'm talking with Chris from the Seasteading, from the Free State Project. These are people who have spent some time thinking about how to put together a government that they can, that would be for the people and so on. However, I do know something about the libertarian ideals. And we're not going to make any rules. If somebody wants to live there, they can live there. It's
right, but you really don't need a government. I mean, you're there, you're hooked up, you have stores, you go to the store. If someone wants to buy the store, they can buy the store if there's an arrangement that the seller and the buyer are both in agreement with, and that's the way it should be. So we're not going to have a president of the Marinea, homestead, seastead then, or anything like that. There's not going to be any government structure.
No, not at first, because, but after we get enough people, you really kind of need a government structure, but it should be very minimal. Because of the very fluid nature, and that's sure it's upon, of our living arrangement, you really can't tie people down with a lot of rules. And that's why it's so beautiful for the libertarian. It's a minimalistic kind of government. Can somebody come and live there without being a member or a citizen? Sure. But citizenship will get you a 5% discount on everything.
Okay. Now, if I show up there and with my my craft, my boat, and I hook up, do I have to become a member of the Marina Project, or can anyone just come here and hook up and whatever?
Anybody can come and hook up or whatever, but if you are a member, you will get a 5% discount. And how does one become a member? Well, right now, just by purchasing one C note or more, you're part of the association because you are supporting the seasteading concept. Now, once we become a recognized country of our own, with having our own flag and our own government, then we'll probably want to have a president and so on. But would we make rules that people have to join us? No, but we'll make it, we kind of go backwards. We don't force people to do things. We give them initiative to want to. So you want to be a citizen? Buy a C note. The cost is one C note. Once we become a nation, the cost will be one C note to become a citizen. And your citizenship allows you to vote, allows you to get a 5% discount. And if you have C notes there, you'll be able that you're not using, you'll be able to sell them to others for a profit or whatever, just like you would anything else.
Now, can I buy a C note although I have no craft, no boat or anything like that? I just want to invest in the project. I want to help promote it, and I want to help fund it. Can I just buy a C note even though I'm a landlubber?
Bless you, Joe. We need people like you. Yes.
No, you got no. I'm gonna buy a C note. I can guarantee you, the money's in the mail almost already. Sally, put $100 in the mail at least. Okay. No, I'm serious. I'm gonna do that this week. But all right, now, you're really not a nation. Is there any concern that there may be pirating? Some people, another country, some people or outsiders will come in and try to take over the place? I mean, are you going to have a police force, an army? Are there going to be any cannons out there or something like that, or what?
Joe, we're libertarians.
You're going to use swords, right?
The NRA is sort of like tattooed to all the libertarians.
That's true.
So I'm not too concerned about that. But we don't have any piracy in our area. Yeah. You will have some maybe down by Somalia or something on the other side, but we don't really see any kind of piracy in the Caribbean area.
I guess there's nothing to take over. I mean, other than a grocery store or whatever, or a restaurant. I mean, what are they going to? Nothing to take over. People will just get in their boats and leave. So they wind up with nothing. But is there any concern that there may be some other agency, a government that would want to take over, or some group that would want to take over that particular the project?
I don't really know how to answer that question, because what are we really talking about? Well, the Bahamas are very peaceful people. They're not going to take over anything. The Cubans are pretty happy with staying where they are, and they might like to have Guantanamo back or something, I don't know, but they don't really bother anybody. We're really only talking about the United States. And the question, I guess, is where does the 600-pound gorilla sleep? Anywhere it wants, right? So if the United States wants to come out and squish us, I don't see what anybody can do, any country or anybody. The United States can go into any country. They went into Chile. They've been into Argentina. They've been into Iran. We just really can't stop them from doing whatever it is that they want to do.
But there's no interest in it.
We don't
for 'em.
stop. There's no benefit.
No
They can
benefit
go make
for
their
doing
own.
that. Okay. Yeah. Other than a
They
lot
can
of
make their own.
aggravation for everyone. Okay.
And besides that, they probably wouldn't mind getting rid of us libertarians.
That's
they
right,
want to run
yeah.
the world, and we're trying to keep them from doing it. So, it's, I shouldn't be quite so facetious, but
no, I agree with you. But all right, so the people living there are not giving up their citizenship from the nation that they're from, right? They still have their
Unless-
citizenship in Cuba or the United States or Mexico
unless
or
they
whatever.
want to. Yeah, unless they want to give it up. In which case, there are people who wouldn't mind giving up their citizenship. They really don't like the country that they're living in, but they have no place to go. We can give them a place to go.
Right. Now,
You see, the weird thing about what we're doing, I'm going to take it to the next level. We're talking about the pilot project being a libertarian community, but we can have a second community that might be all socialist. And we can all be part of the same group. They run their group their way, we run ours our way, and we have our different laws and everything, but we can still fly the same flag. So, we don't have to go with the same dictates that the countries that have come before us. I'd like to think that we're on a more progressive, more intellectual track and are able to circumvent much of that.
Well, it isn't this synonymous to people going on vacation, and there may be 1,000 people occupying a hotel. They're from all over the world. They're all eating in similar restaurants, occupying the beachheads or the pool or the stores and whatever, and they're all doing their own thing. But no one's concerned that this person may be from Czechoslovakia, the other person may be from Japan, the other person may be from... That's all immaterial. Everyone becomes one, and they're just doing their own thing. Isn't the concept exactly the same?
Joe, I've been traveling all over the Western Hemisphere, and I don't see any problem between people. The only problems that anybody has is one government to another.
Right.
Our government don't like the Chinese. The Chinese don't like the Russians. The people, we all get along.
We all get along, and it's a shame that the government that's supposed to be protecting us makes it much worse.
It seems that way sometimes.
Right. Now, what is phase one? Walk us through phase one. Where are we on phase one, if we're anywhere other than in the sketching stage of on paper? Where are we? And then what is stage one going to look like? And how do we progress from stage one to stage two?
Well, I can bring up that barge that I had showed you, that
right.
the flotel. That is phase one. It is pretty much complete. It needs just a little bit of renovation to make it usable for what we're looking for. But within probably 3 to 4 months after we have paid for it, and part of what we're doing is paying for it. This is what we're using the cash that we're getting for the promises of the C notes, the stocks, or I don't like to call them stocks because they do other things that stocks don't do, but preferred stocks, if you like. This is what we're using the money for. We're going to be purchasing that and putting it on site as a proof of concept. Now, as the boats and whatnot build around us and we have more people coming in, phase two will begin almost immediately with the design of the floating marina, more stores, more whatever.
Okay.
And it just might look, I can tell you, it just might be donut shaped, like if you've ever seen Deep Space Nine. If you look at the Deep Space Nine, that is a very good, stable float for the deep sea. So phase two may look like something like that, where the actual boat marinas would be inside the arms or the outer circle.
Yeah. What will be what do you anticipate the cost will be to moor your boat onto the Seastead Marina?
It'll be minimal. It probably, I'm just gonna, most places charge $10 a foot. That's what most marinas, that's what we had to pay. But we're probably going to go with something, if they're going to actually moor it, they're probably going to be using more of a house float instead of a boat.
Right.
But either way, it'll be minimal. We're only probably talking about $2-3 a foot. You know.
Okay.
We're not trying to get rich on this. We're trying to build a community.
Yeah. Will there be a helicopter pad in case of an emergency, so a helicopter can come over and land on it and stuff like that in case of?
There is one now, but we don't really need it. There's much better. There's much better things on the market. If you check on the website, go to the magazine, the Ocean Living magazine. I think there's two things in there that would be interesting. One is the volocopter. It is not like it's a helicopter has two big props that spin around and catch it up. A volocopter has 18 little ones, and you can use a joystick. You don't need to have a license to fly big crafts. This thing's easy to operate. You can use a little joystick, and I think you're going to see more things like that. Now that's not a far away long distance craft. So, yeah. That would be like going from your float to the island or to the store or something like that.
So there's going to be no standing army, no standing navy. There's going to be no police force. There's going to be no government per se. There may be a group that are coordinators or whatever, right?
Sheriff. We'll have an elected sheriff, and the sheriff is responsible for keeping the peace.
Right. In case someone has a question, they need a focal point. All right. And now, what's your timeline on this?
Independence Day. 2017. We were just talking about it. Independence from the United States from Europe, but our independence is going to be independence from the United States. Not that we're throwing stones, but there's some of us that just want to have something different, new, unique, and we need to go someplace where we're not trying to take something that belongs to anybody else. See, I mentioned the Free State Project. I was happy with the Free State Project. I was a supporter of it. I think it was a great idea as far as it went. But the problem is that it's up in New Hampshire where it's cold, a lot of bugs. And Democrats and Republicans have already laid claim to that state. And so we're talking about bringing people from all over the United States to make a state that belongs to somebody else and claim it for ourselves. Well, we don't need to do that. We can actually have a free state that belongs to us and always has. We don't need to take it from somebody else.
Right.
If the people in New Hampshire want to live in a slave community, they're welcome to do that. Or they can look and see what we're doing and what freedom will do, and then they'll be able to emulate what we're doing. So I believe that we're actually going to help the Free State Project because we're going to give them something that they can point to and say, this is what libertarians can do.
Bob, I want to interrupt you for a second, please. We have a call on line 1 and line 2. Should we take line 1 first? All right, line 1, you're on the air. Your first name, please, and your question. Oh, they just hung up. They heard my voice and hung up. All right, line 2, you're on the. They've been. Both of them hung up. You sure you didn't? We didn't knock them off. What? Well, they just came back. Which line are we on? Line 1.
They hung up again. I don't know. No, they're not there.
We have 2 ghost callers. It seems.
I mean, they were there and they even.
They were there and they disappeared.
Disappeared, and then they came back up, and then they disappeared again.
Well, I'm sorry about that. All right, now if a person, let's say it's from the United States, and they decide to participate in seasteading, and they moor their boat, and they have a business. Let's say they're a computer programmer or whatever. do they have to file their taxes with the U.S. government or any government, or how does that work? I mean, or they say, hey, I'm not living in the United States anymore. I'm living out in the middle of the sea. I don't want to file any taxes because I'm not living there anymore. How does that work?
I'm not a tax attorney, so I can't really advise any U.S. citizens what to do. But if they're a U.S. citizen, the U.S. government, it's only one of two countries in the entire world that no matter where you live, if you're still a U.S. citizen, you have to pay taxes to the government, to the U.S. You can just go with your Marina citizenship. I don't know what the benefit of that. Maybe you would have a hard time getting back into the U.S. So if you're a U.S. citizen, there's taxes. However, that said, if you're not living in the U.S. and you're out 11 months out of the 12, then you have some pretty huge deductions. You can make up to $100,000 without paying any tax, or $200,000
Okay.
if you're.
Yeah, I think because you're not using any of the facilities of the country. I'm not using
Right.
the roads. Whatever. I'm not doing anything. So I'm okay. So about 11 months out of the year, I can make $100,000 a year, and that would be devoid of any state,
Right,
local,
that's
and
tax-free.
federal taxes.
Now that's the U.S. laws. Okay, so
Right.
we're not doing anything special there. If you lived in Mexico for 11 months out of the year, you also get that one.
What if you're on something like
100,000.
Social Security and you get your Social Security check? is
Well,
that
would
tax
change.
free now or what?
That wouldn't change. I don't know about what they do with Social
you
Security. Do they
still
charge
may have to
taxes
take some
on it?
money out. Okay, I know that's an unfair question because these are tax questions. But all right, so I'm sorry. I think I asked you what is the time frame when the Marina Project is actually going to be constructed and available for the people to participate?
Well, phase one is constructed. All we're doing is purchasing something that had been used as a fishing club. It was a very upscale, very rich person's fishing club, and I don't know why, but they have discontinued the use. They're not doing it anymore, and they put it up for sale. Once we found that it was available for sale, then we redesigned. Excuse me. I've talked too much. My voice is going away.
Okay, we're almost through.
Once we found out that the club was available, then we redesigned our phase one proof of concept to just buy that because it's already made. It's ready to go. As soon as we get, we're going for 10 million. As soon as we get most of that, we'll say, 15 million. Once we get 10 million, then we're going to, the owners are expecting us. We're going to transfer the title, have it refitted for our use, and then use a tugboat to put it out on the site.
How close are you to the $15 million? May I ask, or is that an unfair question?
We're just starting.
We're just starting. Okay.
Yeah, the website just went up last month.
All right. Now, if I wanted to participate and buy a share, $100 share of stock in the Marina Project, would I just go online to sign up?
Yeah, go to marinea.org, and the Join Us page. There's a form to fill out, and then when you click on it, it will take you to your account where you can purchase, or you can eventually, I don't know if sale is there yet, but eventually it'll be purchase or sale. You can do whatever you want with your C notes.
Okay. Now, as a member, are you kept abreast as to what the progress is and whatever? Are you kept abreast of what's going on with the project itself?
We're updating. The magazine is really a getting information from all over and bringing it together. But on that same page with the magazine is the other news. Our news releases are there, And anything that, as we have different parts develop, we will put it on that section. So any newspaper in the country can follow our progress just by what we're putting.
Now this is not an American project, basically. This is a worldwide project. People from anywhere in the world, Mongolia, they can participate in this. Am I correct?
Correct.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, our electronic guru is actually in Germany.
I see.
Nice thing about the internet, we can pull from all over the place.
Yeah. Well, the government's not going to like you too much because they like control. They want to have control of everything, and this is where they lose total control. Now, do you see, just brainstorming a little bit and hypothesizing, could you see this as something where people start leaving countries? And once this thing starts developing and more of these communities open up around the world, and actually productive people from these countries start leaving and start living in a seascaping environment.
You mean like in Ayn Rand's book? We've talked about the similarities to Atlas Shrugged and what we're doing, but in reality, there's a lot of differences. First of all, when the dry land areas see that we're successful, they're not going to wait to emulate. They're going to move on it right away. So I think our research is going to do a lot more than just providing a place for a handful of libertarians to live. I see it actually changing the way, kind of like the internet did with communications. We're changing the way people live.
This is absolutely fascinating. We're about out of time. We have a couple of minutes. I'd like to leave the last 2 minutes for you to summarize and inform our audience how they may get more further information, how they may participate, and encourage them and hear what you want.
All right. We are a group project. If we, meaning everybody listening to the sound of my voice, pull together and do a little bit, we can move mountains. How do you move a mountain? One shovel at a time. There's many, many millions of libertarians and people that aren't libertarian, but just like the idea of freedom and the peace that comes with listening to the wind in the waves and no sound of the steam shovels and everything else that's around us. So there's a lot of people who will benefit from having the seastead available to them. Those are the people who should help us build it. And we are asking you to go to check out our website at marinea.org, read about what we've done and what we've accomplished thus far, and our projections for the future. And then, if you would like to add your name to the history books, because we're going to write everybody's name down that helps support us, and keep it in a ledger called the Mariners Ledger of the Mariners, where hundreds of years from now, your name will be listed as one of the people that helped start living at sea.
That's great. Bob, thank you so much for being on our program today. We do hope that you will accept our invitation to return and give us an update whenever you feel it's appropriate. Please give us a call when you think it's appropriate to do so. Hold on a second. I just got a note here. Okay. Now, the Marinea website, that's MARINEA.org, right? Okay. It's
correct.
To make sure
it's like Mariner, but instead of the R, it's an A at the end.
Okay.
Or Mariners from Marinea.
Yeah. When will you start? When will the next phase come in? The progress report come in? I mean, how soon will that be?
As soon as we get enough to actually purchase the phase one barge, that will probably be the next major news thing.
All right. Well, we hope to hear from you then.
Thank you very much for your interest and for helping me explain our project to the people out there. And our doors are open please join us.
Okay, and I will join, and you will. The check's in the mail. Okay, Bob. Thank you so much. Okay, folks, this is the end of today's broadcast. We'd like to thank our sponsors for the financial support, and we'd like to thank you for listening in. You can further the cause of liberty by recommending this program to your friends, and let us hear from you. Our email address is comments@libertytalkradio.com. Remember, you're either allowing your liberties to be taken away, or you're striving to protect them. Unfortunately, there is no middle ground. Until next time, this is Joe Cristiano. You've been listening to Liberty Talk Radio. Stay well, stay tuned.